This is about repairing the damaged indicator that was broken off the CB1300. It wasn't actually broken off, it was just sort of hanging loose. Now, I think it is repairable. Most people would just go out and buy another one, but oh no, not me. It's virtually identical to the one on the opposite side of the bike, that is to say the left-hand side indicator. The only difference being is that they have drain holes in the bottom to drain away any moisture that might gather within them. So therefore you've got a left-handed one, a right-handed one, and they do say on the lens top to signify which side that lens has to go on to allow for the drainage. You can see on the good one it's firmly mounted rubber against the plastic housing. There's a rubber isolation mount there, a flat plate with a bolt to bolt it to the fairing. The flat plate and the nut, not a bolt, the nut is missing and the plate is missing from this one. I've put them aside, they're not going to be anything to do with the repair. So this one has obviously been impacted from the front and bent backwards because it has bent the screw that holds the rubber to the plastic housing. It's also broken off part of the plastic housing that the screw goes into. You can also see there's some damage at the back here where the plastic has been bent backwards as the thing has been forced backwards. Strangely, there's no damage to the outside of the housing at all, or even to the lens. So whatever impacted against it must have been fairly soft but quite forceful. Now my hope is to be able to get that screw out of there, glue the plastic back into the housing and either straighten that screw or replace that screw with another. I'm hoping that this cord will pull out of here. The problem of course is going to be this connector. Will it go through? Will the connector go through? Yes, there we go. I'll try and get a bit of light in there for you so you can see the screw head in there. And it does look like that screw head's at a slight angle. It may be that the screw is not actually bent, but the mounting itself is bent. Okay, let's see if I can get this screw out. Right, the screw is bent. You can see it's wobbling as I turn. I'm also going to need to get a set of pliers to hold on to the plastic, to try and let it undo the plastic as it comes out. It's a self-tapping screw as well, I've just realised. Oh, pliers. Let's see if I can try and grip this. Got a horrible feeling it's not going to grip. No, because it's broken. If I can try and turn it away, maybe I can grip it from the other side then. Nope. Nope. Pliers are too small. Try a different set of pliers. I've managed to get the screw out by gripping the broken end with a pair of pliers, getting a screwdriver in there, unscrewing it. It's pretty obvious the screw is buckled, so I need to replace that screw. But I now need to bond this back on to the indicator. I've got something to screw into. Just having a look at which way round it should go in. I'm going to use the screw into it to hold it with. Give me a method of gripping it. You know, actually, I'm wondering, that hole is a lot deeper. I think I could use a longer screw and go right down into that hole. That's a lot deeper than just the end piece there. I think what I might do, I'll get something to measure how deep that goes, a little probe, a needle or something like that, and see if I can use a longer screw, because I've got to replace that screw anyway. Right, using a piece of this zip tie, using the end of it, if I stick it in, it goes down a fair way before it comes to an end. And to be honest, I'm not really sure whether it's that's touching the end, or whether because that's tapered it's going down as far as it can. I suspect it's hitting a bottom. Yeah, I would say that's going down quite a way into it. So it seems to me that if I can get a screw, that adds another length onto it, almost twice as long, of the same diameter, I should be able to replace that screw with a longer one. Self-tapper would be lovely, but I doubt if I'm going to find a self-tapper. Let's go and have a look in my box of screws. Right, I've found a screw which seems to have the length. I need to make sure that it will pass through here first, which it will. Okay, and that's not very good since I'm going backwards through it, not forwards. Come on, out you come. Yeah, it's supposed to go that way round. Well, we'll get back to that. It actually still looks bent to me. Right, that bracket in there, I don't know if you can see it. Let's try using a little light. That bracket in there looks like it's bent to me, and it needs to be pushed back in. So we'll try and get that so that it's nice and flat. But before I do that, I want to make sure that the screw will fit into that hole and grip. So I'll screw it in there and we'll see how we get on. Well, it's very stiff to go in, which seems like a good thing on the one hand. On the other, maybe not so good. Yeah, what I'm concerned about is the height up from here and how high it has to go for that bracket. This screwdriver is a little bit small. I'm going to get a slightly larger screwdriver, see if it'll grip it better. Starting to chew the screw up a bit. I hope that's enough. have to keep in mind, of course, that it will bottom out. But hopefully that will do it. Now if I can flatten that out a bit. Let's go with it as is. Let's see how we do. I'm going to feed the cable back through, if I can. Of course it's going to catch. There we go. Now that's starting to look more like normal, but of course from where it's flared a bit at the bottom there, that won't matter actually, because that is at the bottom of the indicator. Slowly tightening up. Right. Now, although I've tightened that up, it's still a bit loose. It's still coming loose. It's still not in far enough. Right, the screw isn't tightened fully yet. It's still coming out a bit. What's even worse is it's still able to fold back. I actually think that screw might be a bit too long, but also I think when I do tighten it back, it's going to have a tendency to pull that front open instead of holding it flat. And I put that down to that metal plate. I think I'm going to have to go into the garage and try and flatten that plate somehow. Yeah, I think what it is it's that plate. Because that plate is sitting at a slightly skew-if angle. When it's tightening up, it's pulling it in like that. Whereas what I want it to do is pull it in flat. Right, well it's that plate there that needs to be flattened. I'm still convinced it's not flat as it should be. So we'll give it a go. We'll have a go and see if we can try and straighten it, but I'll have to do that in the garage. When you put it in, you can see that the angle of it still isn't right. It's still got that tendency to point backwards, thereby pulling this rubber round instead of sitting straight and true as it should. Now, I'm still not happy with that. As I say, I'm still not satisfied with I'm not happy with the head on that. That's starting to chew up. I'm not happy that that plate is flat enough yet. It's still got a tendency to set off angle, so more repair to that required, better screw required. Here we go again. Okay, because that screw was getting so chewed up, I've actually replaced it with an identical one, but before I did, I forced that screw in as hard as I could. I even got to use the pliers on it. You may see around the edge there it's looking very ragged where I was gripping the end of it with the pliers, screwed it in as far as I can. I then took it back out and put on the rubberized end and put in the replacement screw, and that seems to have done the job. There is a very slight gap there at the front, so it does seem to be pulling it round a little bit, but at least it's better than it was, and I will call that as done. That will now be able to go back on the bike. So that's that repaired. I'm not entirely happy about that, to be fair. Yes. Okay, we'll let it go at that. Do you know, actually, I've just had another thought. I wonder if I put a drill through that I wonder if I could use that as a spacer. There's a thought. I might just do that. Just run a drill through that. Use that as a spacer on here to hold that screw out. Yes, let's try that, because that might stop it from doing that. Yeah, I like that idea. I'm going to try that. Right, we've run a drill through the centre of that. Screw slides through it easily now. I think what I will do is I'll put the screw into place first. Slip this on over it. Then we'll put the cable through. Hopefully it'll go through without too much problem. Oh, the spacer's fallen off, never mind. Come on, through you come. That's it. Okay, so it's almost up. Fit the spacer on there. Let's see if I can screw her in. Feels like it's catching. Move that one out of the way, move that one out of the way. Now, that's still not right. That's still as loose as anything, actually. Still got a big gap around there. Nope, not happy about that. Still doesn't look like it's going in properly to me. That one's nice and solid, that one's not so good. You know, I'm going to call it quits at that. There's still a little gap running along the top of here. It's over crushed at the bottom, which suggests to me that it's being pulled slightly down, whereas that one has a reasonable gap all the way round. Like I say, I think I'm going to call it quits of that. We'll call that finished. At least it doesn't rock about so much now. Job done. We have one pair of indicators ready to reassemble onto the bike.